I am Savvy Mike, and this is I Am Savvy Mike TV. And well, we have a topic on our desk that tries to be avoided, but if the question gets asked and Rory and Mal are real niggas, they choose to always address it. So they were sitting down with, I believe these are the two ladies from Poor Minds. I don't know their names, but Poor Minds, Horrible Decisions, I believe that's their podcast name. And they asked them about ever working with Joe again. And the answer is pretty interesting. Let's listen.
Podcast and whatever, that's a long time to sustain. Do y'all feel like a little bit like vindicated though, because that y'all have been able to carry this podcast with just y'all two still after all that mess happened? Like, because everybody was kind of like counting y'all out.
Yeah, for sure.
Like they counted y'all out so bad. And the fact that y'all are still doing it with just y'all two, do you kind of feel like nigga?
And have a huge following.
Yes.
At that. Yeah.
I mean, it's a small part of me that's just because I think one of the first conversations Rory and myself had, when the whole thing happened, it was simple. It was like, all right, well, shit, people with the studio, like literally the conversation was so seamless.
Yeah.
It was almost scary. Because it was like, one day we looked down, we was like, dog, we didn't miss a beat like at all. Like, and it just happened. We just started moving.
Yeah.
Studio and, equipment and bring people on, do this, do that, and just build a whole team and a family. And then you look up and it's 5 years later and we sold out London and this and that. And it's just like, what? like we didn't even really sit and think.
Yeah, and I know podcast fans don't really care about like the actual details. They just want to make jokes and laugh about shit. And no disrespect to that side. Pivot the way you want to pivot. I think they're all doing fine too. But 2/3 of the show left.
Yeah.
I knew he was going to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
like
that was
2/3 of that show left.
Yeah.
I knew he was going to be all right.
Yeah.
And they all right. Like everything is fine in that regard.
Worked out.
And even down to like the business side, shit, Peach was doing merch for the old show. Like a lot of people that worked on the old show work here.
Yeah.
Like this was a running business.
I came into some familiar faces.
Yeah.
I know that's right.
Because these have been my people.
Right.
When Joe and I in 2015 was talking about like, all right, I got somebody that could do this, and that. Like, this ain't your crew. This is my crew.
Got you. That's
but even on the business
well,
side,
I got
it was
a messy question.
Mess it up.
Do y'all ever, it's like no room for reconciliation?
No.
Ever?
Me? No.
It's no beef at this point in my life, but it's and I don't think they want that either.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I think my ex told me this that stayed with me forever. Why do you continue to have beef with people? Why can't y'all just coexist?
Yeah.
What's wrong with there being no
beef?
I
don't have beef with nobody.
Yeah.
Like it's not beef.
What's wrong if even if you run into that person or like cross paths, like why would you even everyone could just coexist.
Yeah, it's no beef.
Everyone can just coexist. Everything's okay.
Big on saying that. Like, I'm always making sure we clear that I don't have beef with, or we don't have beef with anybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for me personally, I'm not speaking for her, I'm speaking for myself. There's no room for reconciliation, conversation, none of that.
Yeah.
You feel like it's just been too much
no room for that.
Like disrespect and stuff.
But
Absolutely.
also, what's wrong with that though? Like,
it's not wrong.
But for
me,
like if y'all
wrong
see
with
each other,
that.
y'all
y'all see each
speak.
other, would you like dab him up? Like would you dab
No,
Joe
I'm
up
not saying that.
and
Just,
be-
just coexisting.
No.
If y'all was even in the same spot.
Because as men, certain things were said.
Okay.
Fair.
That's understandable.
And as a man, I cannot hear you saying that.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's fair.
And then, the way I'm brought up, I know things that happen. And it's just like, you played a game with somebody that at one point would have killed somebody for you.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's like now it's just cold. Like, it's all good, fam. Don't worry about it. But that door is forever closed.
But it's not beef though.
No beef.
Yeah.
I'm not walking around
to
it.
me,
I'm happy. I'm great. Life is beautiful.
that's the definition of coexisting. Like,
100%. 100%.
If anybody cross each other's path in a spot, we don't got to say nothing. We could just go our separate ways. Everything's fine.
Right. And
I'm not
think,
trying to beef with nobody to fight. Like, we did that. We were participants. Like, I'm not saying we weren't. But.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's why I was asking that question, because I know y'all gave us our flowers, but I wanted to give y'all's flowers because it's so hard when you feel like everybody is counting y'all out, and the fact that it's been 5 years that y'all been doing this with just y'all two. I see podcasts start and be done after a year or two.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But the difference, Lex, is once you know who you are.
Yeah.
Once you know who
That
you
never
are,
even crossed my mind that it
Lex,
wouldn't
you
be
know
this
who
right
you
now.
are,
right?
And you know that no matter what you do in life, you're gonna always be all right.
Yeah.
Dre, you know who you are, and you know no matter what in life, you're gonna always be okay.
That's true.
It's the same thing.
You don't feel like, I feel like it's some people, and we say this all the time, people feel like they have to attach themselves to people, especially in this generation.
Yeah.
People feel like they have to attach themselves to people to be successful. But like you said, it's so much power in knowing who you are. Like, I don't need to be cool with this person. I'm going to be straight.
And
I was never
in it for that.
My shit going to still get views.
I was never in it for
right.
that. And that's the difference a lot too.
Right.
That was I never even cared about people knowing who I was.
Because you was always knowing who you are and you were confident in who you are. So it's I don't need to be cool with this person to get.
But rebranding is hard.
I think the opposite. I think people have attached themselves to me.
I know that's right.
Oh, for sure. People definitely want to attach themselves,
especially because you.
I think things were going a certain way.
I love to have a good white on my arm.
We need one of those.
We need one of those.
Need a good white friend.
It's always good to have a white man on your side. It's always good to have a white man on your side. Always. That was funny. Shout out to them. That was pretty entertaining. But regardless of it, when it comes down to it, you know, Joe has his side of the story. Mal and Rory has theirs. But regardless of it, when them three were together, it was some classic work going on. I feel like where we are now when it comes down to the landscape, at least when it comes to like Rory and Mal and what they're doing and Joe Budden and what he got going on, in my honest opinion, the podcast I'd much rather listen to at the moment is Rory and Mal. Now, that's not to say that they have a better pod than Joe's pod at the moment. That's just to say, as far as my preference goes, if I had to choose one, it would be Rory and Mal and Baby D. That's just in my honest opinion. But at the same time, you know, that's because Joe has turned his pod into a dad pod. That's what that is now. Like, they don't talk about hip hop. They just sit up there and talk about life. And of course they get into topics, you know, they try to stay a bit poignant and tackle the things that are happening in pop culture. But as far as that being the focal point of the podcast, just not it. And at the end of the day, you know, that's the same thing with Rory and Mal's podcast too. You know, they don't try to focus on what's really going on. The hot topics is more so about, you know, their lives. And when it comes down to it for me, I like, you know, whatever podcast I'm listening to, whatever show I'm listening to, I do like a bit of structure. I don't mind y'all being off the cuff, talking about y'all lives, giving us a little bit more deep dives into that. I don't mind that at all. But when that's the majority of the show, when that's the majority of what is being talked about and said, and the topics are just like something you have to do for the clip and something you have to do to put out in the streets, you know, oh, me talking about this topic is going to always spice things up. So yeah, I'm going to talk about it, but I'm not even really going to talk about it. I'm going to let Mark Lamont Hill and Melissa Ford and Ish and Ice, I'm going to let them argue about it while I just sit here and say nothing. That's what happens now. So Joe is he's just farming money at this point with using his name and his platform and his standing in hip hop media and the culture. He's just using that to farm money. He don't give a fuck anymore. He don't even give two fucks. At least with Rory and Mal, I still do feel like it's some passion there. But like I said, when it comes down to it, it's all objective. You know, I get y'all might love these people. And so y'all want to hear all that shit. Y'all want to hear the behind the scenes as far as like their family lives go. Not the drama. No, the drama's for Patreon. Free pod. Oh, family talk. Oh, wife talk, girlfriend talk. Oh, Mark Lamont Hill. Carry us with your intellectual bullshit. Like that's what's going on right now on that Joe Budden podcast. I'm sorry. That's why I much rather listen to Rory and Mal's pod, because at least they try to stay on point. yes, they do still, especially when there's nothing to talk about, they just get to rambling. And that's fine. But when it is things to talk about, they at least try to stay on point. Joe don't care anymore. Joe is just collecting a bag at this point. Collecting a bag. That's all that's going on up there. So yeah, regardless of it, I fuck with Rory. I fuck with Mal. And although Joe called me a thief, you know, he's still the pod father in a sense. I still can't ignore and erase the fact that I was dancing to Pump It Up for at least a good 2-3 years when I was a kid, watching You Got Served on repeat. So at the end of the day, you know, I'll always be a fan of him, like objectively, but personally, fuck. That's just how I feel. That's just what it is. He said fuck me. If it's fuck me, then it's fuck you. That's just the energy that I'm gonna always have, and that's the energy that Rory and Mal have, and nobody's telling them to not have it, and that's the energy that Joe has as well. So it would be odd but cool to see them sit back down together and do something. But yeah, like Mal said, I guess who knows what the disrespect was. Mal never really dives into that. He just says Joe disrespected him in a way that the door will forever be closed as far as a friendship between the two goes, because I guess in a sense he loved him like a brother because he'd take a bullet for him. So to hear Joe disrespect him in that way, it was a problem for him. So I don't know what was said because Mal never divulged it, but at the end of the day, I can understand him having that opinion about Joe because Joe is a disrespectful motherfucker. And he's an asshole. Just look. I am Savvy Mike, and this is I Am Savvy Mike TV. Peace.